Welcome to Outside In with Zoe. Today I'm thrilled to be joined by Sinead Gliddon from Prestige by HKY. Sinead's a busy mum of two and an accomplished real estate agent, known for her exceptional communication skills and negotiation skills. In this episode, Sinead and I will guide you through the crucial steps to prepare your home for sale, covering everything you need to know before making that first call to an agent. Hi Sinead, how are you?
I'm good, Zoe. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
That's
Welcome to Outside In.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Today we're talking about how to get your house ready for sale.
Yes.
And the tips and tricks to prepare, the authority to act and what you should do when you're signing on a real estate agent, and marketing strategy.
Yeah.
You are a real estate agent with Prestige at HKY.
Yes.
And you have set up that brand with HKY. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that came about?
So I've worked with HKY, which is an independent real estate agency, for almost 6 years. We felt that there was a need to possibly have some separate branding based on the houses that I was sort of getting listings for, but also having a bit of a presence in the areas that I was looking after. So the licensee, Dave Holland, and I came up with the idea of having a branding called Prestige by HKY. It's a different look and feel. It's that little higher end that will attract the sort of higher end market, and obviously where it's located as well was obviously a big thing as well. So we are now in Coolbinia, which is where I mainly sell property, Coolbinia, Manoora and Mount Lawley. So,
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
An area close to my heart. I was born in Coolbinia.
Oh, yes.
My grandmother grew up in Coolbinia. That was her first house she bought, and it was.
Okay.
I actually looked up my house in Coolbinia. Funny
Yeah.
fact, because I was like, wow, I didn't think we were rich when I was young, and no, we weren't rich because it was $345,000, which was still
That's probably a lot at that time.
It was a lot at that time, but
Yeah.
you weren't. I mean, it wasn't considered. Like it wasn't the suburb that it is now. Like
Yeah,
with the back,
sure.
I mean, you even look at North Perth at that time where my grandmother lived, and it was predominantly an Italian area, which is my heritage.
Yes.
And again, it wasn't considered really what it is today.
Yeah.
And Coolbinia has a private treaty now, doesn't it? Where you can't,
restrictive covenant.
a
that's
restrictive covenant where you
That's right.
can't subdivide. So
That's correct, yeah.
it's a unique little pocket of the world.
It is, yeah. So I think the other sort of well-known suburb that has those covenants in place is Floreat.
Yep.
So a similar type setup where you've only got full-size blocks in the area, beautiful big houses.
Yeah.
It's sort of low urban density and lots of greenscape, which is beautiful.
Yeah, I actually don't want to tell anyone about Coolbinia because I'm hoping one day I can still afford it, but I don't think, I think that dream is drifting very fast over that way, which is nice. But I do love coming to visit you at home opens in Coolbinia.
Yes, it's always lovely to see
Oh,
you.
yeah, and they are beautiful houses. I like to walk through and be like, this is definitely my house in the future. But yes, thank you so much for coming and to share your wisdom. And actually, how we met is why I wanted you to come on this podcast and talk about that, because I walked into, I think that day I had done about 7 home opens back to back. In the North Perth, Mount Hawthorn area. And there was one property that I walked into that just stood out over and above the rest in terms of presentation, how it felt, how it smelt, and the music and everything. And of course, that's where I met you.
Yeah.
And it was very nice that that property was in North Perth, and it was just perfect. Like I could see myself there, and I believe that one is now under offer.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
But I do understand why. That the house smelled like I don't know what that scent was. That was just amazing.
Yeah.
And there was some beautiful jazz music playing as I walked through, and I really could, picture myself. It was staged well. The gardens were manicured to a T.
Yeah.
So maybe just walk us through. Now, the first episode we kind of went through whether you should have an agent, no agent. And I guess there's different times for different things, but mostly it came out that, especially in a higher bracket, that you should be, in a certain bracket and above, absolutely having an agent. But I guess for some people before they meet with an agent, they're like, what should I do to my house? And maybe what should I check with so I guess maybe just walk us through that. If I'm thinking of selling, what should I consider doing before, and when's it important? And
Yeah, so look, it's a tricky one. Each house is different and the way people live are quite different. I think if you are looking at selling your house, some of the main things are decluttering. So we have a lot of things in our homes. We all live in certain ways. I guess when we are presenting a home for fresh eyes to have a look at, they don't necessarily want to see how the current owner is living, but they want to see the potential of how they might be able to live. So we want to make sure that there's no personal effects left around, photos that make buyers feel like they're walking into someone else's home rather than their potential new home. So that's quite important. Painting is really quite an important thing as well. So if the walls are looking tired, a fresh coat of paint can really make a huge difference. As
and
well
that's
as
not too expensive, is it, really,
no,
for the value you get?
Yeah, not for the value, that's right. I think everything that you're doing to get your property ready for sale should be seen as an investment and not an expense.
Yeah.
So particularly when you are looking to get your home on the market, one of the biggest things that you're obviously looking for is the highest price possible that someone's going to pay.
Yes.
By investing in those things, then obviously you're going to get the best price for your home.
And is there a certain level that's not relevant? Like if you would say, and there's not, I don't think anything much under 500,000 these days, but would you say that's always sort of the case, to get it clean and tidy?
Yeah.
And, you know, do a lick of paint, even if it's yourself, I guess, as opposed to a painter?
Yeah.
Or where's that limit, or just sell as is?
I think the more properties that are going on the market, just about everything is staged nowadays or has been set up quite nicely, well presented for sale. It's very evident when a sort of a lower price property that may have been tenanted still has tenants in it, and you see photos.
Oh, yes.
And that's obviously a bit of a turn-off, I think, for buyers, again, knowing that, that's sort of what they're going to be walking into. It doesn't bother investors as much. So if you're looking for an investor to possibly purchase your property, it's not going to bother them, but they're going to see, they're just going to see it as a potential to pay less for your property and obviously make more money from that. So it's not necessarily the demographic that you want to be attracting when you are selling your home. You're really looking for those emotive buyers that will pay top dollar because your home looks so beautiful to them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what about landscaping? Is that another... or would you,
Look, it depends. So it depends on the home. Some of my sellers do keep their gardens beautifully. The one that you came, that's all them. So
that was amazing.
I had no influence on their garden. It was absolutely stunning. Other properties, yes, may require sort of tree lopping and just a bit of curb appeal. Again, that can really make all the world of difference when going to market.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so... basically get my house as good as possible and get it presented well, and that you would always advise when you come in as an agent. So now I'm like, okay, I might just start fixing things up in my backyard, painting my walls, doing these things. It's such a shame. I grew up in a stage home, actually. My mum was a flipper. So I'm well aware of how it kind of needs to look, which is really annoying because I knew when she was going to sell. She would be like starting to paint, starting to do stuff. But now I've done these things, when should I start, and how should I find that agent? Yeah, like, and we did touch on that the first time. So maybe let's talk a bit more about, I guess, how do I find the agent? How many appraisals should I sort of get? And then the next step, which is the authority to act.
So I think if we're looking at in context of presenting the house for sale, I would recommend maybe starting to get things going and have a bit of a list in your head, but probably trying to get agents in sooner rather than later. Yeah. Particularly for things like painting, there's colours that we would recommend over others. So, if someone's decided that they're going to touch up their blue room blue again, that may not be the best thing to get their house sold. So getting agents in, particularly the ones that really do enjoy interior design and do really understand how much of an impact that staging can have, getting them in sooner rather than later to get some advice from them, I think would be crucial as well.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Actually, I've seen a new app pop up recently, and that was like Find Me an Agent. Have you seen that one?
There's quite a few around.
Oh my gosh, there's so many apps now. I'm just like blown away. We talked about it just now, but yeah, so...
And I wouldn't recommend those apps.
Yeah, okay, good. I was just about to ask, how should I find an agent?
I think word of mouth is probably one of the strongest.
Oh, we could go back to a buy local page, right? Is that a good...
Well, yeah, we could. Yeah, we could go...
I ask a lot of questions in those.
Yeah, so people do, the community Facebook group do ask questions like that. I think those apps... they don't really tell the whole story. So most of the time, there's only a certain amount of agents that are signed up for those apps. So they're not actually going to put forward agents that haven't signed on for those apps. Often people that are on those apps are really just looking for a good deal. So they're looking for the cheapest way to sell their home through the agents that are on there. And the agents need to advertise their commissions and their rates straight away. So I think that's a slightly different way than I would recommend to getting an agent through. I would ask people that I know well and trust what sort of experiences they've had. I would look at reviews as well. So you can certainly Google agents and look at their online reviews, make sure that they're verified, and maybe just have a chat to them over the phone before they come through. Make sure that you can work with them. So it's probably less about all of the accolades that they've got and more about whether they have the same values and ethics as you, whether you feel really comfortable with them. It's a journey, and you want to make sure that you're going through that journey with the right person.
Yeah. That seems to be a common theme since we started this podcast, is actually that you want the right people in your court, not necessarily the ones that look like, this or... have the best rate or whatever. It's generally coming down to somebody that's acting for you on your behalf.
That's right, and in your best interest. Yeah. So that's the number one thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So now I have gone to my friend Betty, and she said, "Okay, I like Sinead. You come over with a bunch of others that I've taken recommendations, and I've said I would like you to sell my house."
Sure.
Great. What's the next? Thank you. Yeah. What's the next part of the process? Because I know this actually for me was the most daunting part of the process, and this one. So I've got to go back to why I chose this topic, because when we were looking at selling, it was really daunting, the staging, or while we're living in the house with a small family, to stage, declutter, to do those things, and then to have an agent say, oh, you can't do, you're listing with us for 3 months, and, someone, the whole process sort of. So I guess talk us through the authority to act, and maybe talk us through how you would tell someone like me with, a child, how to declutter and how to make that process a bit smoother.
So I think once I'm signed on as an agent, I help with all of the project managing for sure. And being a mum, I understand what it's like to have kids in the house, how time poor you are. So I would recommend getting an agent on board that's willing to look at everything in terms of the whole project, and not just when this is the next home open and I'll be there and you sort the rest out for yourself type thing. When you're sitting down and going through an authority to act, there's probably 2 questions that you need to ask an agent. The first one is, how long is this authority to act going to be valid for? I would suggest only ever doing a 3-month authority. A lot of other agents will actually have automatically a 6-month period in there without really even notifying the seller of what that actually means, that they're tied with them for 6 months, even if they're not happy with the service that they're providing. I think you find out whether it's a 3-month authority and also whether you can get out of it if you're not happy. So I always believe that if someone's unhappy, they shouldn't be bound to working with someone that's maybe not performing as they should be. So they're the 2 big questions that I would say, and just make sure that you're really across the document, that the agent has gone through everything, all the points, so that you fully understand where you both are and what you're signing as well.
Yeah. And where do I put all my stuff?
So we can talk about that. So it really, it often depends on what you're doing. So you can do part staging, where someone comes in and will utilise the furniture that you already have there. There's obviously garages and things like that where a lot of your furniture can be packed up as well. So buyers aren't really worried about whether your garage is full of your own things.
Yeah, they don't really need to see themselves living in the garage.
No, that's right. Yeah. So long as the house itself
I'm now going
is
to check the
looking
garages
beautiful.
though.
Yeah, that's right. You can probably tell when something's been staged. So there's a lot of staging companies that require your home to be vacated, like vacant.
Oh.
You can still live there, but they don't want any furniture there.
Okay.
Or you can have partial stagers who I mainly work with. So they come in and they will just help you, and they'll bring in furniture and move furniture away, but they'll work with what you've got.
Yeah.
But just really make it amazing. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how much does all of this cost? It's quite a big upfront cost to sell your house, right? Like, and do I have to pay it upfront, or do I pay it on settlement?
So some of the time you pay your marketing upfront.
Yeah. What about the staging?
With the staging, that's separately to the agent. So that is an arrangement that you have with the staging company.
Okay, so you're not involved in that really?
I will.
Yeah.
A lot of agents won't, but I will try and get involved with that as well. So just be the go-between between the seller and the staging company. So that's normally paid up front as well. However, most agencies nowadays have a payment facility where you can defer until settlement. So you can even tag on painters or any work that you're having done on the house.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so there's a company that we use called Realty Assist where you can actually apply for a sort of a short-term loan. That will allow you to get all those works done without you needing to worry about anything until settlement day as well.
I think a lot of people don't know that.
No.
Yeah, that's really good to know. And that's through most real estate agents that they will offer that.
I think a lot of them nowadays do offer it. Yeah. So,
that's good.
and there's a small percentage that you do pay on that, but it's fairly minimal, really, in the grand scheme of things.
So I won't be too out of pocket if I'm going to sell my house nowadays.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, realistically, we don't get paid until the house is settled. So we don't ask a cent from you. Normally, if you don't want to defer any of your marketing costs or your staging costs, then you'll need to pay them up front. But in terms of paying for the selling agent, that doesn't happen until settlement. So,
that's fantastic. I knew the selling agent, but the other stuff, that's great to know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, very handy.
That is really good to know. Okay, so I'm through my authority to act. I've chosen you. We're going for a 3-month term.
Yeah.
And everything's all maintained and looking great, and we've got the staging in, and that's all for the end, all ready to go for the end of settlement and to be paid on, obviously that settlement once we have landed an offer that we like.
Yes, yeah.
But let's talk through the marketing strategy because that can vary. But we do you think, let's talk through what it is now and then I guess where you see it maybe changing.
Yeah.
So what is a standard, and I guess maybe because you work in a different bracket of home, so maybe an average marketing budget, what that looks like.
So the biggest cost that any seller is going to pay in terms of their marketing is realestate.com.au.
Yes.
And regardless of whether you have a $5 million home or a $300,000 home, you're paying based on what suburb your listing is in. So most agents I know pay for the highest bracket, the highest tiered marketing package that realestate.com.au have. And it can be around about the $1,800 to $2,000 just to advertise your home on that platform. In saying that, Perth, I think, I'm not entirely sure of the statistics, but I think it's like 98% of all buyers use that platform predominantly. So they do have the lion's share of the market, and you're certainly attracting most buyers through that platform over anything else.
Yeah.
So,
I must admit I use it often. I think Domain's bigger in the eastern states.
That's right. So 1/3 of buyers in Sydney and Melbourne actually use Domain exclusively. So if you are looking to possibly attract a interstate buyer, then you would probably want to spend a bit more money. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's done well over there, but I don't think they've even tried here. I haven't even seen an advertisement for it.
No,
Yeah.
I think they've given up a little bit. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't really like it when there's no competition, and I guess that's not good for anybody when there's just, the realestate.com, but I must admit that's what I use, and for cars I use, car sales.
Car sales. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I guess they're the same. But yeah, so that is a big expense. And then what else would you recommend? I guess the other things depend on the value of the property too, whether you're doing brochures and...
brochures I would recommend. I mean, that's a really small cost. So you're looking maybe $150 for some really beautiful brochures.
Yeah.
Photography is key as well. So I would recommend that for any property regardless of its value. People expect to see things visually. Gone are the days where there's a tiny little advertisement in the newspaper that, maybe had one paragraph describing the property.
Yeah.
People are really using visuals to really get an idea as to whether something will appeal to them or not, and whether they'll go. So to the home opens,
Yeah, awesome. Oh, I like your brochures, and they're like a different size too. So
they are,
they're a little bit smaller.
Yeah, always trying to do things a little bit differently.
A little bit differently to stand out, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the marketing strategy, I guess, will vary, and I think, depending on...
It really does depend,
on the property, where it and how it's going, and the home opens and whatnot. I think from the home opens I've been to, I think it seems that around the $900,000 mark is very busy right now.
Yeah.
And below, and above that is a bit, obviously quieter because it's a different bracket of property.
It has gotten quieter across the board, though, I would say in the last couple of weeks, everywhere. Every bracket.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, because we don't really see, and for those that don't know, we get the REWA stats and the different stats that happen, and there has been a few more properties on market in the last few weeks, months, a slight increase, but
similar to this time last year. So there's not a huge difference. I think there's about 100 properties more this time than there was this time last year. But in terms of just attendance at home opens at the moment, it's gone very quiet, which is unusual. So
isn't it supposed to be the busy season?
That's right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it is an interesting period, just the last few weeks. So
I think this will come up every time, because we're talking about the Perth property market, that nobody has a crystal ball to know what's coming, but I think a home opens is definitely a surefire sign. And you would have thought that the RBA holding rates would have maybe kept, let people maybe go out shopping. Maybe we'll see that this week.
I think it might change this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, the fact that has held, and people have maybe been waiting for that to happen. Yeah. Whether we start to see a few more numbers this weekend, it'll be interesting to see anyway.
Yeah. Do you think people are worried about, but I know this is normally the really busy time, people are worried about settling before Christmas? Or is that normally a busy time for you?
It can be a busy time, yeah. So some people do want to be in prior to
home by Christmas.
Prior to Christmas. Look, it's much of a muchness. I think every seller has a different story. Every buyer has a different story. Some need to sell their homes before they can settle, things like that. So, it's always different. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think, just to recap, we'll say, absolutely, if you're looking to sell and in any market, you should get it looking schmick, get it looking nice.
And lean on your agent as well. So your agent should have a list of trades that they use, that they can recommend. So having all of that at your fingertips is really useful when you're not sure who's a good window cleaner or who's a good painter. We normally have a great list of trades that we can provide, that we've used on many occasions, that will also sort of make appointments for us over other people, because we do use them regularly.
And they understand, the urgency too. So, well, then to recap, it'd be find the right agent for you first. And then talk to them about what you need to do to get the property to sell and take that under advisement.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Build your marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And sign that authority to act. Well, that would happen again just
try
before,
and get that done. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to ever feel pressured. I
Yeah.
think once you're ready, let the agent know, sit down, go through that authority in detail. Just make sure that the agent explains every point in there so that you do feel completely comfortable when you are signing. Once you have that authority, obviously that agent can then go ahead and act on your behalf.
Yeah. I do want to bring this up because it came up actually, I've just joined a BNI group, and it came up yesterday that real estate agents are the second least trusted profession. And I knew car salesman was number 0, at the very bottom. But I didn't know real estate agents were second from the bottom.
Yes.
So I guess let's talk about that, because there must be, I don't know what's happening. Like, why is that? And is it because people don't understand the authority to act? Should we talk through that a little bit more? And why do you think that is? It's a hard
I think as agents, it's our responsibility. We need to inform our clients from a legal standpoint of what they're entering into. We need to make sure that they're fully comfortable with the contract as well as the sale contract as well. So even though they're not the ones that are going to be filling that in as buyers, we need to explain to them what will be contained within the sale contract, because it is their home that we're selling as well. So those two things shouldn't be glossed over. I think there are probably a lot of agents that do that. Do you think just leave this up to me and I'll handle this for you? And I think that's maybe where that sort of
lack
trust,
of knowledge, which is why we're here too. It's to talk people through what they don't know and
That's
to
right.
demystify the whole process so that people understand. I must admit, before I started this whole journey, I also was like, what is going on? I don't like this, because I didn't know, and nobody took the time. And I think in a seller's market, when we were putting in an offer on property, there was like 20 other people doing the same thing, and the agent really didn't have the time to spend the time with us and to say, this is what it is. And when you think about it, it's like such a big deal for you.
It is a huge deal,
Yeah,
and they
to
should be
put in
taking
an
the
offer.
time.
So
should be taking the time to come back to you and explain the reasons why. Explain when you are making an offer what that actually means as well. Explain things like the finance clause, or whether you're waiving that finance clause because it's a cash offer. You need to have all these things explained to you. Yeah, for sure.
And I think we're going to go through that in great detail in another episode, because it's important.
It is.
How to put in an offer, what's expected and whatnot. But I just wanted to touch on that. And I don't think that's obviously not representative of the whole industry. And that's why you really should shop around. And the questions you should ask is, can you please talk me through this process, and also what's going to happen on the other side of the process from when I get an offer, what the options are, what their options are. So I know both sides of the coin, and I'm not questioning you or thinking that you're acting without integrity, which is not the case. It's just that you don't know what's happening in the process. So it's communication. And
absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask any questions. No questions are too stupid. So ask as many questions as possible. Again, the agent should be touching base with you, having meetings with you regularly to give you an update on how your property's going, but also answer any questions about the process as well. So
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we got that now. And that is the perfect thing that I need to hear about how to get my property ready for sale as I'm driving from one place to another, and about how to engage an agent and what I should be looking for, and the marketing process and strategy that I'm going to build with them to sell my house.
Great.
All right. Thanks, Sinead.
You're welcome.